Okay.
You'll cue me in. Mozo editor yonke lento besithetha.
Do we edit? Don't worry, I'll edit it. Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Usiso Mbonambi, and welcome to yet another episode of Rolling with Spurinator. And today we are joined by Olwethu Mvelo, who's an HR recruiter from a mining company. So she'll be basically giving us all those tips and advices about job applications, what to include in your CV, your cover letter, all that important information that is very, very critical, especially for us job-seeking graduates. I think this is going to be a very insightful episode that is very, very important to all of us. So please make sure that you share this episode to as many people as you can. You never know who it might help. And also don't forget to do the most important thing, to subscribe to the channel to ensure that we spread all this information to many people, especially your graduates, especially your high school metrics as well. All right, Olwethu, welcome to the channel.
Hey, Spura.
I hope you're good. How are you?
To have so I absolutely love what you do, by the way. Thank you for inviting me. I think we'll be having some good conversations, and hopefully be able to provide some insights for your young graduates. Especially those who are interested maybe in the digital space and stuff. I really hope they're able to, learn from both of us per se. So thank you.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure, man. So to make sure that this interview is not too long and make sure that it's straight to the point and insightful, I'm just gonna ask you questions because people did send me questions. So I'll try to group them to one question, and then you just give an overview of that question, right? So I'm going to start with the CV itself, right? In terms of content, what content is important in a CV, or what content are recruiters looking for in a CV? In other words, what should I put in there? What shouldn't I put in there? Some people will tell you don't include your ID number. Don't include your ethnic group, or do include it. Don't, we just never know what to put in, what not to put in. It's very confusing. So I think it'll be best if when you, as an HR recruiter, you are able to tell us what should we put, what shouldn't we put, what's important in terms of the content itself on the CV.
What a lot of people do, or what they're mistaken for, is that they overthink it. And they think that there's a perfect structure in how a CV is supposed to look like. And I always say that the CV is not going to look the same for the different job applications that you apply for. It is all about what the company is looking for in the job description. So I always say, are you really touching the points in terms of what the company is advertising for? Are you talking about the behavioral competencies that perhaps maybe they're looking for this kind of personality within that particular role? Or are you covering, if they're looking for a certain qualification, have you made sure that you've exhibited and really, were able to communicate that to the recruiter to say that, okay, I've got this qualification that you're looking for. I've got I've let you know that perhaps maybe they're looking in terms of the technology profile. They want you to be competent in a certain system within your field. Are you sure that you're actually communicating that and that they can actually see? Because for us recruiters, we don't have a lot of time when we're going through CVs and stuff, and exercise. So what we are wanting is someone who ticks most of the boxes of the kind of individual that we want. So I always say, use the job description as almost like a map to try to figure out what's the best way in order to structure your CV. But the basic sense most is CV most, you need to have, for example, you're talking about, do you put in your ID number? It depends. really does. Let's say, for example, you're a young graduate. Okay, I know that a bulk of the audience are young graduates or students and stuff like that, and they're applying for a graduate program. This is when I say put in your ID number, because again, it's a tick box exercise. When you apply for a graduate program, there's a certain age group in which we're looking for. So we're not going to allow someone who's, let's say, 45 to go into a graduate program, because we want younger people with less experience that we're able to mold into the kind of talent that we need for the organization.
Makes sense.
You would put your ID number, right? Oh, okay, they meet the requirement. I don't have to call you through a telephonic interview and ask, Olwethu, I see that you are busy with your honors. Most people in university, not everyone is 21, 22. You get older, professionals who go into university. I don't have to ask you and worry about that in a telephonic interview as a way to screen you. I can literally go like, okay, she meets the requirement, tick, let's go to the next things that I'm looking for. So it's literally that. And then ethnicity, don't put stuff that are not necessary. If it's not going to help you in terms of, unless perhaps maybe they're looking for, they very specifically said, historic.
Okay,
put it in. Let the recruiter know that you fall part of that category. But don't put it, if you don't have a driver's license and you write, I don't have a driver's license, why would you do that? You're shooting yourself. Like, it's stuff like that. You want to make sure that you put the most relevant information that really aligns you to that role profile. I think that's the most important.
No, that makes sense. That makes so much sense. So it's all about what is needed, what the job post itself requires. Then I think people should use the guideline based on that.
Yeah, and it's not about you, it's about the recruiter or the candidate. So the minute you stop thinking about trying to, you want to make the recruiter's life as easy as possible. You want to show immediately just by looking, for like, okay, they seem to have, the basis of what the kind of candidate that I'm looking for. Let's put them to the next round. Put them next round, you do the screening and stuff. So it's all about making sure that you communicate as much as possible in a written context that you are the right candidate.
I like it a lot. So in terms of format in the CV, that's the last CV question I'm going to ask. In terms of format, what format is acceptable? Because some people would tell you, don't include a photo. It might appear, I don't know, somehow. Some people say, do include putting a photo on your CV because it will make you stand out. Some people, also on Microsoft Word, there's different templates that are available there for different resumes or CVs. Can we use that? Or would that be a disadvantage? Because maybe it's too, too stylish, too fancy. Because some people say a CV must be as simple as possible. What's the correct format to use in a CV? What's acceptable?
I think people overthink it again when we're talking about formats and stuff like that. But I think the basis of it is, of course, when it comes to your CV, you have your name. You'd have your name. Please make sure to put your contact details. A cell phone that works and an email address. Like, I've seen some dodgy looking email addresses. I need to be able to communicate to you. If I go like,
absolutely.
Let's make them go to the next round. I should be able to contact you and get hold of you. So that is up to date. I think another important information when it comes to a CV is after you've got that personal information, then I think what people tend to, they put it on the very last end of a CV, and that is your referees. And what I don't like is when someone puts in and they say references, and they said available upon request. Why?
Sure. Why? Why are you making it hard? Yeah, why are you making it hard for a recruiter?
Include it, but people undersell the power of having very prominent referees, even on their CV. So if you're going to put a referee, make sure you put the job title in terms of which, the position they've held. Make sure you let your referee know that you're applying for jobs so that they know that when they get a call from this particular company, they can vouch for you. I think it's only, proper etiquette and to make sure that you're able to communicate that to your referee. I think a very important part when it comes to a CV as well is obviously, let's say you are a younger professional, it will be the education aspect, where you let them know, okay, this is the degree that I've completed, this is when I've completed it, these are the modules which I did. And if you had any achievements and awards that you've had within that academic year, you make sure that you've also put that as well. But the most important part is the work experience. Now, this is where, this is where it counts, because obviously, you want to have someone who you're able to see the kind of responsibilities that they were, working on while in that particular role. So I think that's where you have to really go deep in terms of being more descriptive and let us know what were you doing in this particular role, and what you were doing in that role, is it relevant to what I need you to do in the role that you're applying for? Those are very important takeaways and stuff. And of course, the younger, speak on the awards, the achievements. That's very important to make you stand out from all the thousands of applications that come up when it comes to internships and graduate programs.
Okay, all right. Someone asked a question here. She said, how can an inexperienced postgrad avoid overselling or underselling themselves in a cover letter? So I think then this speaks to cover letters, like what should be there in a cover letter, how to write a cover letter, like how do you not undersell or oversell yourself, what's important, and is it important to write a cover letter to begin with?
Always.
And
always.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people, what they when it comes to applying for a job, if you've got an option to document other than your CV on the job site that you're applying for, you need to put in a cover letter. Even if they don't ask it, put it in a cover letter, because a CV literally gives me a very brief background in terms of who you are as a professional, gives me your professional profile. But what I really want to know is, who are you? And I can't tell that by a CV, where by a cover letter will literally give me those pointers. It will tell me the kind of person that you are. It will tell me your personality. It will tell me the values, your ambitions, your drivers and your motives, and all of those things that are very important to figure out. Is this person the right person to work not only in this company, but with also the team that I'm currently recruiting for? So if you've got an opportunity, you always should have a cover letter all the time.
Okay, all the time. And how long should a cover letter be?
A cover letter is usually about a page, so I wouldn't go straight one pager. You're good to go. Yeah.
Okay. And then another question here is that how important is it to attach a matric certificate? And then she also went as far as asking, can you attach a transcript or a matric statement as an alternative if you don't have your matric certificate?
Okay. I think for me, one of the first things I would really look into is, the older you become, the less relevant some information is, especially when it comes to stuff like, what you did in high school and stuff like, or in primary school and stuff. If they ask for a matric certificate, sure, attach it. I think what we're looking for when we ask for your academic transcripts and your matric certificate is we want to look at your learning agility. If you are going to go into a graduate program, you're going to be required to learn quite a lot. Some programs are specifically designed in a way where you're supposed to complete certain types of courses within the program, and we're literally rotating within different areas of the businesses in different roles. So we want to see, is this person able to learn? How does their learning agility looks like? And that's perhaps why they would ask for stuff like your academic transcripts as perhaps maybe your matric certificates. I think it all depends in terms of the role, in terms of what are you actually, what are they looking for, and what are the requirements that they want in terms of the job.
Okay. All right. And then another thing is that, is it a good thing to, after you've applied, say now you've applied for a job online or you sent an email to that recruiter, and since you're in the mining industry as well, let's say I applied in the mining industry like that, would it be a good thing to also take my hard copy and actually go to to the company itself and give it to the HR person, or whatever. Is that a good thing to do?
Don't do that. Let me tell you why. It depends. Depends on one thing. So let's say you're applying for a small to a medium-sized business. Most likely you know who the recruiter in that particular company is. And you most likely even bump into the owner of the business. The CEO or the director. You'll probably bump into somewhere in the lobby or wherever you are. But in large organizations, we've got a very strict formal way of doing recruitment. I think one of the main parts is when you're applying for a job, you most probably applying it on their website, and you putting in your information on an online job portal. Now, what that does is that when we receive your CV, it goes through what we call an ATS, which is an applicant tracking system. And we use that system in order to filter out candidates. So what happens is once you've applied, you've put in your CV, your cover letter, and every other information that we need, what will happen is that we get a ranking of almost like a percentage of, in terms of the applications, which ones align strongly with the role. So let's say you get a 90%, and then you get 10%. And we have that kind of screening going on. People, because we're not no longer looking at CVs and printing
on
them
hard copy.
No, we don't do that. That's a lot of work and manpower. So we use those to do the initial screening, and then after we've gone through that particular phase, then we could go into recruiter screening and telephonic interviews and all of that. So also it's got to do with the policy as well. So we don't want that idea of, you've got someone's CV on you. Like, that's also, the privacy thing. What if your CV, that's private information that we can't really control in a physical environment, whereby if everything is online, protected with security software and stuff like that, it makes sense.
Makes sense, yeah.
Apply online. Even I sometimes get CVs from other people, and I tell them, I can't do anything with your CV. Your CV has to go through the system. So you have to apply online on the job portal, or I literally send them the link and go like, apply online. Here's the link, apply online. Then online on the actual system that I have in front of me.
Makes sense. Because I think there was also this incident where CVs were found on this huge garbage bin, and they were not shredded or anything. And it's like people's information is just
not
at anybody's disposal. So I think the online system is a very, very good thing. It's a very, very good thing. Okay, so another question is, what are the chances of an inexperienced graduate securing a job that requires 1 to 5 years experience?
Inexperience. So I think we need to define what
inexperience means. I think she means that, like, you come from varsity, you have no industry experience whatsoever. You just literally come, you're fresh from varsity, and you're now going to apply for a job. And this job specifically says we want 1 to 5 years experience. Now, as a graduate, you apply. What are the chances of you actually, attaining that job? Or
that's an interesting one. So let's say, I think I always like to define, so there's a difference between different students. I'll make an example. For example, I was interviewing a good old friend of mine, Azola, on my podcast. And we're talking about what do students do as soon as they get into university. So you get the student, like an Azola, for example, very smart, but he realizes he's got a career strategy before he goes into university. So that he's active on campus. He joins student committees. He does volunteering. He does a lot of VAC work during the holidays. He puts himself out there in the job market. And in that regard, he's almost built like a type of a strong career profile, where he's able to not just benchmark himself against his fellow students, but he's able to surpass that. And that puts him in a more advantageous place. And then you get a student who gets into university and they just stay to study. They don't have any kind of work experience. They don't have any type of, they can't show a recruiter that they're competent enough to work in a work environment because they don't have any proof or evidence to say that, you know, besides just being able to read and literally regurgitate the work on a piece of paper. That's how honestly you are reading and then you just besides that. So, number one, there's those two different students that you come across and stuff. Now, I always say, again, with anything that you do, even with job applications, you need to have a career strategy in place. And that means it's as simple as knowing who you are and being intentional. So if you know who you are, you know what you want, and then you're able to close the gaps in between. So it's all about, if you're asking yourself, when I'm applying for a job, what am I looking for in this particular job? What kind of role do I want to go into? What kind of responsibilities do I want to have? What kind of work culture do I want to work in? What kind of a team do I want to work for? What kind of industry do I want to go into? I think a lot of times as students, we just applying for any job that we find. We don't have time. We just like, we're just applying for everything that we find in front of us without going, which companies do I want to work for and why? And then go like, okay, cool. I know who I want. I know what I like. How can I then close the gap to make sure that when I'm applying for jobs, I'm actually able to fulfill the responsibilities that I have from that particular job. So sometimes to go like, I may not meet those requirements, but are you really serving the employer when you're inexperienced and you're applying for a job that requires 5 years? Do you know what you actually know what is required, and will you be able to fulfill the role? And sometimes let me start with an internship and work my way upwards. Maybe back work and then go from a graduate program and then go for and then specialize afterwards. So all about having a career strategy. When you've got a career strategy, you know who you are, you know what you want, then you know, okay, this job is for me because I feel like I have done everything in my career to prepare me for this role. Otherwise, you would really be overstretching yourself and you wouldn't be able to fulfill the role for that particular employer. So I wouldn't say multiply. I would say, you know, look at the job role and the job spec. Do you want that you'd be able to do this job to the best of your ability? Do you have the skills, knowledge, and the work experience to help you and back you up in that particular way?
Now I think if we look at it that way, in that perspective, then it makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. And then now moving into interview, now the last part. How do you prepare yourself for an interview? I don't know if you've ever conducted interviews. Like, what are the things that people, you know, usually do that they shouldn't do? What tips and advices maybe you can give us based on preparing for an interview, and also on the interview itself, what should and shouldn't you do?
Oh, yeah, that's a lot. So I'll make an example. When I was working as a corporate recruiter assistant to you, we were looking for engineer graduates or interns who were supposed to do the P1, P2 training, site and stuff. That was quite interesting. I mean, you had a different caliber of students, and you saw the ones who actually prepared and the ones who were completely taken aback by the whole process and stuff. I mean, you find other candidates who would literally sit down and you would try to open them. They don't know that, you know, they're not really familiar with, you know, those kind of interviews. They're not familiar with the whole setup and everything, as well as the nerves that gets to them. But I think the most important thing is you need to do your research. You need to research about the company, know what the company does. I mean, if one of the questions that a recruiter or the hiring panel asks you, so what would you like to know about the company? And you tell me, what does this company do? I mean, my thoughts are like, did you not do your research?
No, that's bad. Yeah.
Do as much research on the company, go in there, watch their videos, go through their reports as well. I think people tend to miss that quite a lot. Know what the values and the culture and what are the strategies, whether it's in the short term or long term, and how does your role fit within that strategy, within that company or within that department. So number one, about the research. And number two, comment-based questions. A lot of people don't prepare the comment-based questions. A comment-based question is something as simple as, tell me about yourself, and knowing what does that mean. So I would at least prepare like at least 10 to 20 comment-based questions, write them down. Something as simple as understanding what a star story is. And that means when we're asking our questions, they tend to be almost like behavioral-based questions, where we're trying to find and understand, based on the employers or the candidate's experience, can we actually see if they've actually exuded, can they show us evidence that they've actually done this in the past? So it could be, tell me about a time when X, Y, and Z.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I remember. Sorry to cut you. I remember I've been asked a lot of those questions as well when I was doing my interviews, because I think I've been in 3 interviews where I was asked a lot on those questions, like tell me about yourself, tell me about the time when this and this and this was happening, or you had to make a quick decision or stuff like that. So they always ask those questions. Yeah.
So know what the common questions are that they're most likely to ask. And then I think the other thing is, when you're answering your questions, they need to be in a STAR format. You talk about the situation, you paint the picture, the scenario in which you were in for the recruiting panel. Talk about the tasks in which you were personally responsible for, what actions did you take, and what was the end results that happened. So I think, those are, quite the basis when it comes to interviews, but I think a lot of the times, people don't really apply that kind of, pre-work that goes into it.
Yeah.
And of course, informational interviews with people who are already within the company. That is the most utilized recruitment strategy that job seekers tend to miss.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I totally hear you. Okay, so how do you look out for job spams? Because I've seen a lot of jobs scams that are out there, and people do spread them around. They spread them in our social media platforms, and then you realize. Sometimes they use Gmail as their email addresses, and I'm like, no, there's no way this cannot be real.
Dodgy.
But it's very, very dodgy. So what are the things that people need to look out for? Because as a job seeker, you are very desperate. You get excited every time you see a job post, and you can easily apply. You just jump in there. I've been a victim as well.
I've been a victim as well.
Really?
You know what you touched on, Spoo, that I loved? You said yes. And guess what? When your energy is desperate, it what does it attract? It attracts desperate energy as well. I think also that you need to be, I think I always say with people, for example, I said in one of my videos that I don't like the word unemployed. When you have a LinkedIn account and I see you unemployed, it means you already attract unemployment. I think you have to be very careful what you say to yourself. You need to be very careful of what you think, as well as the energy that you're trying to attract there. But that's another for another day. But desperate energy attracts desperate energy. For example, when I was looking for a job, that was actually, I just completed my degree that year, and I was doing my modules in industrial psychology. I was changing and stuff like that. And I was looking for something part-time because I was still a part-time student. And I was desperate. And because of that, I'd find myself going to these dodgy websites that I had no business going into, applying to where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do. Then I got a call the other time. I remember I was at the computer lab, and this guy, funny enough, it's actually for a mining company. I happen to work for that mining company today.
Wow.
the world works, but at that time it was a scam. So he called me and he said, he was like talking very funny, very fast. I couldn't really pick up what he was saying. And he's like, oh, you did some job. I'm like, yes, I did. Yeah, we've got interviews, but you need to pay 2,000 rand. I'm like,
What?
I'm dropping my phone, okay? Because I'm a scam artist. And then I tried to find the number. He didn't answer. It was already open.
Yeah.
I was being desperate, and because of that, we were able to get those people trying to scam you. But for example, familiar job sites, stick to those job sites and stick to those online job portals.
Yeah, and I think most people would have actually paid that 2,000 rand that person required. They would have, out of desperation. In my instance, I got an email from also a big company.
Yeah.
And it was, so they I don't know if I did apply or not. I'm not really sure, but they actually sent me a contract. It had everything. Like everything was just filled in. How much I'm gonna get paid.
No interview, nothing.
Nothing. There's a contract. All I have to do. It looks so legit. All I had to do was do a police clearance certificate or something, and they needed it in within 6 hours. 6 hours. And they were saying if I can't get it within 6 hours, then I should pay them 300 rand, then 300 rand, and then they'll do it for me.
And but the private everything sorted out.
Everything is there.
No company is gonna hire you without even speaking to you.
Yeah.
They know someone from the inside, and it was kind of jobs where someone knows someone, and but even that they have to follow formal recruitment procedures.
Without speaking to you. An interview.
No recruitment was for money or anything like that.
That was weird. That was weird. But yeah, a lot of, and I actually found out how I knew it was a scam. When I read through the company, I don't know if it was a website or Facebook page. That's when a lot of people were talking about it, saying that they've also received similar emails telling them they already got the job that they didn't apply for. No, but thank you so much, man, Olwethu. I really, really appreciate this. I'm sure it's going to help a lot of people. It's a very, very tough one out there. I mean, once you've left varsity, I feel like it's another challenge. Looking for a job, and psychologically, it's also damaging us, as graduates, because you already plan your future. Once you're in varsity, you already plan your future. You already know, once you're 24, 25, you already see where you want to go. But the moment this, unemployment load just, lands on you, you just get depressed, and you ask yourself, what did I do wrong? You see other people moving, you ask yourself, what am I doing wrong? You know what I mean? So one last question, what do you think, as students in varsity, we need to do while we're still in varsity to prepare ourselves for the life post-varsity?
I think what I'm going to talk about, I had this very interesting conversation again with my friend Azola when I was interviewing him, and I think I also picked it up again with Tafa as well. And you need to prepare yourself. So you can't start looking for a job or start thinking about a job at the very last minute, or you're going like, it's towards the end of my final year. You can't do that. For example, I'll make an example to Azola. He was like, he knew where he wanted to go, and he got a job offer in his second year because he's been building that relationship with that company, going to VAC work and all of that ever since his first year. For example, when we go into class in a particular program, whether it's geology or psychology, We're literally all in the same level. There's nothing that makes you different from your other classmate next to you. Okay? You guys are all smart into this program. Now you need to figure out, how do you compete with that? How do you go above and beyond so that you are in another level compared to your classmates? And that's going to be active. Being active on campus, you also know student.
Yes, but
you need to be intentional, you need to be active on campus, whether you come whatever.
Yes.
Find some level of work experience in whatever capacity you can get. People, I got my wake-up call when I was struggled looking for a job while I was doing my studies part-time. I was like, gosh, this is hard getting a job. And how am I going to do this after my honors? So that's work backwards. I identified the companies that I wanted to work for, and then I worked backwards. How can I fulfill the job spec of what they're looking for in a graduate? That sometimes meant I was working 3 jobs while studying full time. So it all depends of, you need to put yourself out there. You need to show them that you are ready for the workplace.
No, thank you so much, man, Olwethu. I really appreciate it. So where can people find you on social media?
Oh, awesome. You can follow me on YouTube, Olwethu M. Follow me on LinkedIn, Olwethu Mvelo. I've also got like a podcast that I've started up, which I'm about to introduce in the next.
I'm so excited about it. Yeah. So yeah, please guys, do check it out. If you want more information when it comes to, CVs, what to put in there and all that, please do follow her on LinkedIn as well, on YouTube. She has a lot of videos where she was talking about all of that. She literally broke it down into pieces. So yeah, please do check that out. Otherwise, thank you so much for tuning in. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And thank you so much, Olwethu.